Hello, everybody.
Hi.
So, have you been trying to make changes in your life and things don't appear to be working out the way you'd like them to be? Things aren't the way you want them to be. Do you find it difficult, or do you feel yourself getting stuck focusing on the things that you don't want?
Right, yeah. So it can be very difficult. We know that in order to make any kind of change in your life, you need to be looking where you're going. You need to be facing the direction you want to end up in. But it can be very difficult when you're dealing, for example, with empty bank account, to be focusing on abundance, or when you're in a job that you hate, to be thinking about the kind of work you wish you were doing. It can be very difficult to deal with those kind of challenges.
So, today's topic, what we're going to be focusing on, is how to deal with what you don't want.
So what we want to do mainly is give you an alternative perception or perspective. And for that, we're going to use an analogy. That's good. And this is going to help you to keep your focus on where you want to be instead of on what is at the moment. So when we're stuck somewhere, we tend to think this is all there is. Now, imagine you're at an airport. And you're at a really crappy airport. Okay.
No names, please.
You're at a horrible airport and you're kind of stuck there, but you're on your way to somewhere like Hawaii. So you're going on vacation to Hawaii, and at the moment you're at the airport, and it's not a nice airport. Now, you don't sit at the airport and go, oh, this is a terrible airport, I'm going to be here for the rest of my life. You're thinking of Hawaii. You may be annoyed to be in the airport, especially if your plane is delayed. But there's never any doubt that you will be leaving the airport and ending up at your destination, the place you want to end up at. And so you're making plans for Hawaii. You think, oh, I'm going to be so glad when I get there. You're looking forward to it. And if your plane is delayed, then it may be annoying, but you'll, read a magazine or play on your phone or, do whatever else you do at an airport, go and have something to eat. And your perception, it's the perception that makes the difference. Now, this is the same thing. So whatever the circumstances you find yourself in right now, treat that as a crappy airport on your way somewhere. And whatever you do want, think of that as your destination. The other thing about this analogy is that you don't know how the plane works. You don't know how it's going to get from, you can't see Hawaii from where you are, and you don't know how the plane flies or what route it's going to take or anything like that. You just get on the plane and you end up in Hawaii, and you're trusting that. So if the way the natural way we are, we tend to go, well, I don't know how it's going to get, I can't see a way. So then you never get on the plane, right? Yeah. And the other thing is, if your plane is delayed, you're keeping an eye out and an ear out for the announcements or checking the boards for when it's going to, when it's actually going to leave. If you were focused only on the crappy airport, you would never leave the airport because you'd miss the announcements. You wouldn't notice the boards changing. And sometimes they change gates, right? So sometimes the plane's leaving from a completely different gate. And if you weren't keeping an eye out, if you were focused only on how terrible the airport is, you'd be sitting at the wrong gate. Or what we sometimes do is we insist that the plane has to leave from that gate, right? So there may be ways of getting what you want that it's not what you thought it was. So there may be opportunities that you haven't thought of yet, that you can't see from where you are. And as long as you are sitting at the old gate and insisting this is the only gate the plane can leave from, you're never going to get on the plane, right?
Yeah, and it really is, it is difficult, though, when we get into the feeling of the what is right now. So it could be looking at that bank statement and there's no money. Or there's the physical symptoms that I'm dealing with that feel like I'm never going to get out of that. And that especially, I know for myself, like when I've had like a really bad stomach flu or something like that. It's hard to imagine never being
Right.
free of the stomach flu again. It just feels like this will be forever.
Yes.
So when we get in the middle of it and those the neurochemicals start to happen, it feels so real and it feels so convincing. And that's part of the survival techniques, and one of the reasons that those chemicals are so powerful. But we get locked into that, and it feels like there isn't a beyond.
Right.
And it feels so. That's the difficult part, is to then put yourself in the perspective of trying to remind yourself that this isn't forever.
Yeah.
This
You're at
is
the airport.
just being at the airport. Can I put my focus on seeing beyond what is right now?
Right. And because life keeps moving forward, you couldn't stop if you tried. You couldn't stay where you are if you tried, because eventually things will change. Now, how they change is going to depend on where you're looking, because that's going to determine which direction you're going in. So the other analogy that and it's just fallen out of my head completely. Oh, no, I remembered it.
Well,
I remembered it.
thank goodness, because I wasn't going to be able to help you there.
The other analogy is a hangover. If you've ever had too much to drink and you've woken up the next morning with a hangover, if you didn't know that it's a hangover and that's what happens when you have too much to drink, you'd be calling an ambulance and you'd be telling everyone you're dying, right? But you know that this is what happens, and then eventually it passes and you'll get over it and you'll feel better again. And the same like when you were saying when you've got the flu or something, it feels like it'll never end, but you know that it will. And the problem is that we don't have, most people don't have enough evidence for the fact that the bad times will pass and you will get through it, as long as you're looking in that direction. So I think the airport analogy is a great one, and I think it's very helpful. So the next time you're dealing with something that you don't want, remind yourself, okay, I'm just at the airport. The plane's been delayed. It's really frustrating. Oh, I was going to tell the story of my experience.
I was just going to ask you if you would share.
Yeah.
Share your real life experience
Have
of being in the airport.
So my son, my sister, and I were on our way from England, from Birmingham in England to Vegas, and we had to fly via Minneapolis. And we were very excited about going to Vegas, and we stopped at Minneapolis. And because that was our point of entry into the United States, we had to go through the passport control. There were 2 passport people on control and hundreds and hundreds of passengers. Now, we had plenty of time between flights, but because there were only 2 people on duty and all of these hundreds of passengers, it was taking forever. And once we got through there, we had to collect our luggage and then put it back and go through customs, put it back, all of that. We got to the gate 10 minutes after the flight had taken off. Now, here's the thing. I was furious. I was furious because...
Now, was this before or after the work that you're
This was during.
Oh, okay.
To be fair, this was while I was still working. I was working on myself. I changed a lot of stuff, and I was doing pretty well, but still human, and still some programs back there. And my anger was because, my frustration was because I thought surely they should have communicated. They knew, surely they would have known it's taking a long time to get through passport control. So that was my frustration, was that they didn't communicate. Now, and the reason I'm saying this is because I had this thing of it should. So there's the plane should leave from this gate. And they said, well, look, it's, the next one is in 3 hours. We didn't have to pay any extra or anything. We just had to get on the next plane, which was in 3 hours time. Well, I was not having that. I was incensed. And once I'd calmed down a bit and I thought, okay, so I never took my focus off the fact I was going to end up in Vegas. And once I calmed down a bit and I thought, okay, so let's have something to eat, let's have something to drink, let's relax a bit, play a game, read a book, make the time pass nicely. And then we got on the plane. We still ended up in Vegas. We had a fantastic time. So we get like laser focused on,
absolutely.
and it's especially when it's things where we think it shouldn't be like that,
Or if it's out of our control.
and
If
out of our
if
control.
things happen to us that are seemingly out of our control.
Right, someone else's fault.
Mhm.
And then, but the problem is that as angry as I was, and I wanted to see the manager, and all of that, it wasn't affecting anyone else except me. It was up, it was making my time of, I had to wait at the airport anyway, and it was making that less pleasant. So you might as well go, okay, so this is not pleasant. I don't like it. I don't like the fact that I haven't got what I want yet. These things in my life haven't changed yet. So while I am waiting I still know where I'm going. I'm still going to end up in Vegas, or I'm still going to end up with money, or I'm still going to end up in a good relationship, or successful business, or a job I enjoy, whatever it is you're aiming for. Know that that's where you're going. And in the meantime, do whatever it takes to pass the time in a happy way. So watch comedy, listen to music, dance, do activities you love, and all of that will not only help the time to go quicker, but it'll keep the prefrontal cortex of your brain online, so you'll start coming up with opportunities. You'll notice when the plane is leaving. You'll notice when the gate has changed, meaning that you'll notice when there's another opportunity you hadn't thought of, or a solution you hadn't thought of, and oh, right, I can do that.
I think it's also helpful to practice, especially when you're not uber triggered.
Yes.
It's good to practice keeping your focus on your destination. Keep reminding yourself where your destination is at. So the best time to practice a fire drill is not when the fire is happening. So if you can continue to practice or get yourself in that state of practicing knowing the end destination, what does that feel like? So in other words, practicing best case scenarios. How is this going to feel once I've achieved that?
Right.
If we can get into the habit of doing that, then we have that in reserve when the unforeseen start happening. When the I don't want this starts showing up in your life, you can keep your focus on what it is that you're trying to achieve.
Right. And the easiest way to do that, pick one moment. I call it a touchstone. Touchstone moment. Pick one moment that you will experience once you've got whatever it is you want, and make it as like no detail. So something like, yes, I did it, or thank you, thank you, thank you. It's just that, or wow, it all worked out perfectly. And you don't need to know the details, because the less detail you have, the easier it is to do that when you clearly haven't got what you want. So then you lower the arguments from your conscious mind going, well, yeah, it's not here yet, or what about that? Just, yes, thank you, that kind of thing. All right.
So as always, if you feel like you need a little extra help with this, please feel free to check the description below. We've got links to, you can book a free
consultation call.
Thank you. A free consultation call with us to see if working with us might be a good fit. We've also got links to some other do-it-yourself information that will also help keep you on track. And I believe until next week, we'll see you all later. Bye.